I believe that communication is so much more than we give it credit for. Communication is so important, yet I believe that so many people don't know just how negative some of their communication skills are. Think about what it would be like if we didn't have communication in our lives. Communication is how we get our needs and wants across to others. Communication is not only what we say, but how we say it in our body language while communicating. From this class, my eyes have been opened up to the small things in communication that may seem so subtle but can make a difference in how you are perceived. Before this class, my body language was coming off in a way that suggested I was not invested into the conversation and just didn't care. A few things that I would often do is cross my arms, not keep direct eye contact, have a bad tone of voice, and have poor posture. Since learning about the negative effects these have on communication and how it makes the other person feel, I've been working on doing less of this. Although I have not fully cut these negative traits out of my life yet, I am much more aware and notice when I'm doing it and think to myself how I'm coming across to the other person and then change my body language. The one thing that stuck with me the most that I learned from this class is from the Messages book, part on fair and unfair fighting and knowing the difference between the two. I hope that I can remember to apply these concepts to my life when needed. When I'm in a verbal argument with someone, I hope that I can think clearly enough to put these great tips to use. When in an argument, both parties are heated and tend to speak without thinking, which usually results in hurt feelings not only to the other person, but to you as well, as later on you might regret the things that you said. I know I am guilty in participating in many aspects of unfair fighting, such as bringing up events that have no direct relationship to the current argument and using them as ammunition against the other person to get my point across. This ties back to being able to ask for our wants and needs. People often think that others can read their mind and know what they want without directly telling them, and it just doesn't work that way. Being unable to ask for needs and wants can cause them to be unmet, and keeping things bottled up, causing everything to come out in a future argument. When we try to truly listen to others' wants and needs so we are able to fulfill them, ours are more likely to be fulfilled. When in an argument, it is so important that we are aware of danger signals and what those look like so escalation can be prevented. Some examples of these are rising voices, threatening gestures, shifting body positions, and throwing things. It is not always possible to take action before these happen because we never know when a person is going to snap. But it is very important that measures are taken after these danger signals are noticed. I really like how the book suggests to take a timeout during a fight and explains how to do it correctly so that it is more successful. A timeout is not only physically but mentally beneficial. A signal should be agreed on beforehand, and when that signal is given by either person, there is no more talking, and sneaking in last words or jabs is not allowed. The people can go to completely different rooms, or they can leave altogether. If this is not possible, if there is a situation where they're in a car or somewhere where they can't leave, a time is set where there is no talking. This gives you the opportunity to calm down and start thinking more clearly. You might realize that you really aren't as mad as you thought you were, and maybe start to see things from the other person's perspective. Although it was very clear that this is not a time to think of things to say against the other person, this should be a relaxing time to clear your mind. The book mentions how getting physical exercise during this time can be helpful if it's possible. When the time is up, the individuals are to return back to each other but can always take more time if needed. This has really stuck out to me because I have been in situations where I could have used this timeout method, and I think it would have been very helpful. Instead, we often just continue to fight, which doesn't resolve the problem because we aren't even thinking about what we are saying. Disagreements that I have been in, once they have ended and I've finally started to cool down and actually think about the problem, and many times it's not resolved, just other problems are brought up and feelings are hurt. I've also come to the realization that many times what gets fought over is really not a huge deal, but there are some underlying problems that are yet to be brought up and worked out. I believe that now I am more aware of these things and can work on this part of my communication during fights. These are the topics that I have found most helpful. Learning about communication throughout this class has not only helped my communication skills in my personal life, but in all aspects, especially at work, when communication with not only the children, but my co-workers as well. It is nice to be able to see the actual changes when what we have been learning is applied to our lives. I believe that the only way to continue progress is through practicing and applying skills, and I hope that my communication with everyone around me continues to improve.